89% of sports fans say they're more likely to return to a sports venue that offers a personalized experience. This underscores the business value of tailored, data-driven engagement platforms. My name is Paul Nashawaty. I'm the practice lead for the AppDev practice, and I'm joined by Chris from Twilio and Nick from AEG. Welcome both of you to our podcast.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's great to have you on. Super exciting news you guys have. But first, before we jump into it, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself and Twilio?
Yeah, I'm Chris Kohler, Chief Marketing Officer at Twilio, and Twilio is a customer engagement platform. So we help companies like AEG really drive an incredible fan experience.
Awesome.
Nick Baker.
Yeah,
Nick
go ahead.
Baker. Yeah, I got you. Nick Baker, President and Chief Operating Officer of AEG Global Partnerships. AEG is a sports and entertainment business with global reach, and our group is tasked with partnering with the best companies in various categories to enhance the live experience for the sports and entertainment assets we own around the world.
Well, it really is super exciting to have you on. Exciting news. But as we're looking at things, our research has shown that live sports and entertainment are becoming a proving grounds for real-time personalized customer engagement, as nearly 9 in 10 fans say they're more likely to return to venues that tailor experiences around them. That's really pushing organizations to rethink fan engagement as data and platform challenge, not just marketing and sponsorship exercise. So as I said, it's really exciting to have you both here to discuss the latest news on your recent partnership and your recent announcement here. So let's start with both of you. When we're looking at the scope of this partnership between Twilio and AEG, what is the problem that it's supposed to or designed to solve? And Nick, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I think live entertainment continues to be such a competitive landscape in this country and around the world. And I think what the fan expects is higher objectives each year in and year out. And so for us, what we needed to do was to align with a world-class organization like Twilio to help us communicate with our customers and our fans in a way that is up to date, is authentic to those individuals, and will enhance the experience for the fan first and foremost, but also make our business better. Oftentimes, AEG will reinvest back into the business to make the fan experience better through talent and acquisition. And Twilio is the partner that can take us there into the future.
So, Chris, what does this mean for Twilio from this partnership?
Yeah, I mean, Nick and I, we actually had an existing relationship through one of with Access ticketing platform. And this just is a broader expansion of that. And I think what we were really excited about when we looked at the partnership is, one, how could we have a meaningful impact on either fan experience, customer experience, and the breadth of AEG's portfolio is just incredible. And we looked at this and we said, I think it was like in September, no, not too long ago, we said, hey, how could we go much bigger together as part of this? And we spent some time really mapping out what the art of the possible was. We looked at crypto.com and the Kings, and we said, hey, what if we really, really reimagine the fan experience? What could we do together? And so this was sort of our second foray into a sponsorship. But what's really important is it's all focused around the fan and the customer and how we improve that experience. No,
it's definitely super cool because it really comes down to that engagement model and working with the fans and having the proper, experience for those fans. But Nick, I want to ask you a question around the Twilio's technologies and how it's being implemented across AEG properties. What is the success criteria or success metrics that you're looking at that will be used in order to understand if this is working well?
That's a great question. I think, as Chris alluded to, we've already had success with Twilio, right? Over the last few years, they have helped enable the fan experience on the access end and the authenticator text messages and the communication that we get so that you can securely keep and transfer the tickets on the access platform. So they have helped, for a number of years, get you to the event and get your friends to the event and helped us in a way that was authentic. Their performance really alluded to this expansion here today. And I think we're going to have various metrics based upon the business needs. So if you look at crypto.com arena, we're really going to hone in there around the premium partner. The premium partner can be a number of different things, right? You can be a premium seat holder in a number of different areas within the arena. You can be there once a year. You can be there 100 times a year. You can be down on the event level, or you can be up in an event suite. So that experience needs to be curated for each of those individuals. And Chris and Twilio are going to really educate us. This is about aligning with their expertise of what they can do for us in a business that we're really good at. We are great at putting on live events inside of real estate that we own, and we own sports teams, music, events. What Twilio is going to do is enlighten us to ways in which we can communicate with those individuals, segmented differently for each experience, and then grow our business through that.
Yeah, Nick, I hear you. That makes a lot of sense. But, I think that the big thing that I hear and I see, and again, in our research and when we're talking about this with our end users, is the focus on real-time experience is important. So, Chris, I want to ask you about the partnership here and how does it fit into Twilio's broader focus on real-time personalized customer engagement and including the live events and sports that Nick was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, right in our wheelhouse, how do we take the data that we've got, the CDP, creating a profile around that fan experience, plus the communications channels, right? How do we reach them on whether it's in their app or text message or email, whatever it is, to really take the best information that we have and create that perfect experience, right? Before the event, during the event, after the event, doesn't really matter. Reach them where they are. And for us, it was really important from a partnership perspective because we've got to serve, our customer. Like if you think about who builds on top of Twilio, everything from a developer, right? So you partner with one of the largest events companies in the world to reach an audience, whether it's a developer or a CIO or a CEO, right? They've got access to every one of those individuals, right? So it just made total sense of, our future customers and their customers working together and create an incredible experience. I mean, it was perfect.
Yeah, I love the way you kind of tied that together. And again, in the press release and the information when you briefed me on this earlier, I was really excited to see this come together, really kind of drove that new way of thinking about things. And Nick, so I want to ask you something to hear about this because when we look at the modern fan experience, right, there's different levels of expectations. So I want to ask you how you're thinking about that in terms of today, say, 2026 moving forward versus what we saw in 2025. What does it mean for the modern experience today?
Well, I think you could look at our expansive relationship with Twilio is going to look different to maybe one person, right? We could have one person who is a Kings fan, but then might also interact with the Access ticketing app somewhere else in the country or the world. And we're going to communicate to that one individual with 2 different messages or 5 different messages, depending upon the time of the year, the various event they're going to, or who you go to that event with. It might be one event with your family. The next event might be a business event. Next event might be a family event. You might be a diehard Los Angeles Kings fan, but then the next night you're going with friends to a concert. The messaging for that type of an experience needs to be different and unique and ever changing. And I think sometimes folks in my seat or in our industry might be afraid to raise their hand and say, we don't know. We don't have the answer of how we want to communicate. And that's where I think the power of our global partnership division comes in, is that we align with experts who do know. There is so much data out in sports. We're collecting so much data, but this is about having a trusted partner in Twilio who's going to aggregate that in the right way and help us dissect it and help us utilize it in the right fashion.
So, Chris, Nick just kind of touched on something that I was thinking about. You mentioned earlier that you already had a previous engagement in place. You were kind of working together and knew how things kind of were working. What is strategic about this partnership and the importance of this partnership for Twilio's customer engagement platform? And I know based on the latest announcements, there's a lot of enhancements on the Twilio platform. Is that really what's driving most of this, or is it that next level that you're moving towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of both, right? When you start to think about it, we talked about the amount of data, Nick, what you just described. Think about all the interaction touch points across the entire portfolio of AEG. That's just super rich data that I think we can help them leverage in a new way, right? We also have all of our communications channels. So again, you tie the data plus the communications together. And now with the advent of AI, right, that what we've been talking about for a very long time is how do you create those unique one-to-one experiences? We've been talking about that from an industry perspective for a very, very long time, but it's really hard to execute. So we look at this partnership and said, wow, imagine if we could do this with a company the size of AEG and a fan base of that size. It's incredible. So we think we can help both their experience, but for us as well, how do we also reach a different audience with our partnership here too? And again, Nick, you had talked about just the pure scale of like a global company with venues and events all over the globe. that's all rich opportunity for us as we start to think about, how do we tell our story, the Twilio story, in conjunction with AEG, to millions of fans around the globe.
Yeah, I like the way you tied in the AI aspects into that as well, because, we're seeing in our 2025 research that 50% of developers are using AI to create code, and they're using this to connect to existing systems of record. So they're kind of harmonizing the systems, the data sets that they have, and trying to build these new systems of engagement to make it all work together. That has only been, it's growing substantially, and as we go into 26. So we're seeing that 50% in the August timeframe of 2025. Now, as we get into January and February of 26, you're seeing that to be 70 to 80 to almost 90%. So it's really important. So, but I do have to ask you, Chris, because this sounds like it's a very large opportunity. So is this partnership exclusive, or does Twilio plan to do kind of similar deals with other teams or venues?
I mean, again, like what Nick and I described before, there's a uniqueness in this partnership because we had a pre-existing relationship. We were very committed to making both of us successful around that. So I think there is a uniqueness in the partnership as part of that. But we do believe the technology that we're building is applicable, right? Whether that's a retailer to a financial services to healthcare or an entertainment company, right? There are fans and customers that want great experiences everywhere around the world. So we, as far as this technology piece of it, we think there's applicability to all sorts of businesses around the globe. But from a partnership perspective, this was definitely something very much unique.
Yeah, and I think the value proposition from the AEG perspective is to showcase to Twilio that we're going to have real case studies here in the not too distant future of what you can do inside of an arena. The communication during a concert, during a hockey game, during a basketball, during a family show. And then, of course, we already have the infrastructure around what we've been doing with Access, which will only get bigger and bolder. Access is selling 50 million tickets around the world to various different events in all of live entertainment. So really, the platforms that AEG have that Twilio will interact with is going to give case studies to others to say, we could do something like that with Twilio. And that opportunity would be interesting to us. And that was something that Chris and I, really honed in on from our first initial conversations is we're going to go out and do this together, and we're going to do it well. And then you're going to have an opportunity to really, inject yourself into the industry.
Yeah, I really like the way you're kind of framing this up, because the two objection handle or things I hear from CIOs and organizations that prevent them from doing things moving forward is complexity and skill gap issues, right? And those are the two areas that you're clearly overcoming those challenges by putting together these systems to reduce the friction. But Nick, I do want to ask you what you mentioned about the case studies, which I really like. I think that's important to kind of highlight. But what is the expected business impact, and where do you think like you mentioned, it's signaling the industry, right? But what do you think it's going to do? Do you think that others are going to jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, we need to do this too, otherwise we're going to be left behind?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that we'll begin to implement programs through Twilio that will affect our business in a positive way. And others in our industry will see that and will look to incorporate that into their business dealings. And that's, a tale as old as time in terms of any industry, where you see a great idea that you can implement within your infrastructure in a similar complementary way. And so I envision that we will have numerous points to reference here in the not too distant future. And I think, you look at the track record that we've already had with Twilio. This has been a great partner of Access for a number of years. So we're not selling a vision that we hope will come to fruition. It has already occurred. We're just looking to expand it and build it into other sectors of AEG, given our overall size.
Yeah, and I think what was important to both of us is we wanted to be, put skin in the game, both of us, to make this successful. And the big piece was ultimately at the end of the day, success part of this partnership is, one, we create a better fan experience. Yep. But two, together, right, we are building, we're building this up, and we're both successful around that. So the storytelling and the partnership and the case study was key to this.
Well, I'll tell you, it's really exciting to me. It really is not just exciting because I'm a big sports fan. I'm looking forward to the upcoming sports that are coming up next weekend and then shortly after that. But I'm also thinking this is really going to kind of help shift the challenges that you see in many of these organizations. But so we'll have to talk to you all day on this because it is awesome stuff, cool stuff to talk about. But Nick, I want to throw you the mic. What's closing thoughts? What are your thoughts? What would you like to leave with the audience?
The power of partnership. The power of partnership and aligning with experts in their space, and the openness to say, this is an area that we're not experts in, and we need to go find the experts, the trusted friends that we know want to build something with us. And that's what this is about. We are building something with Twilio that's going to have an impact on what we're experts in, which is putting on live entertainment events. And so we're very fortunate to, the power of partnership will prevail here.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think +1 to that. And then ultimately, I think what was really nice is we both were at the center of all this. The customer, the fan is what we're doing it for. And so I think that's critical, especially in this new world of AI. Really focus on the customer and the problems you're trying to solve. The technology is second. And then ultimately, I think we'll both be incredibly successful after this.
Super exciting stuff. And I encourage the audience to check out the press release, check out Twilio, check out AEG. It's awesome stuff, cool stuff. And obviously, if you go into sporting events, they'll enhance your experience. Thank you both for attending our podcast today and joining us. It's really been insightful to talk to you. And also a big thank you to all of you who've tuned in. We do appreciate you being part of the AppDevANGLE community. But that wraps up this episode today. And we'll be back next Wednesday with another conversation to dive into the tools, trends, and talents shaping the future of application development. So whether you're deploying at the edge, building an AI, or modernizing your cloud stack, we've got you covered. Be sure to follow us on social if you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to connect. Until next time, stay curious and stay building.